The newest Toyota Land Cruiser Prado 120 is more than 10 years old, but they are still considered incredibly reliable. Maybe these machines have no weak points at all. What and how should be controlled to avoid irreversible problems and large investments? The most economical engine is a 2.7-liter gasoline. It has almost no weak points, except for sensitive injectors and a pump that lasts about 200,000 kilometers. After this period, it is better to change the pump immediately, about 7,000 rubles, but it is advisable to clean the nozzles every 100,000 mileage. Replacing nozzles becomes relevant after every 300,000, from 3,000 rubles apiece. A more powerful 4-liter engine needs to monitor the injectors on the same schedule. The valves will have to be adjusted every 200 to 250,000 kilometers. Moreover, this is done manually, since there are no hydraulic lifters here. If the car was produced before 2004, it is absolutely not worth overheating the engine. The cylinder head is deformed, about 25,000 rubles. Engines of cars younger than 2004 are more resistant to overheating. The resource of a 3-liter diesel engine is about 1 million, unless, of course, you do not refuel with left fuel. Every 120 to 150,000, you have to change the timing belt, up to 3,000 rubles, and check the valve clearances. Fuel injectors change at the same interval, from 10,000 apiece. About 120 to 150,000 are the plastic gears of the turbocharger servo. Their condition must also be monitored so as not to ruin the turbine. If you prefer diesels, and the budget is only enough to buy a car from 2003 to 2005, then your native engine definitely needs comprehensive diagnostics. Burned-out pistons, from 4,000 rubles apiece, are a typical problem of this run. So, if the engine was sorted out, changing defective parts, this is more of an advantage than a disadvantage. The Eisenwarner automatic transmission is considered virtually indestructible and phenomenally simple. Even changing the oil, from 600 R per liter, is recommended very rarely, every 80,000. But it's better not to wait for the maximum period and check the condition of the transmission every 20,000 kilometers. The more you drive off-road, the more often you will have to carry out oil service, otherwise the torque converter and clutches will fail. In the transmission, the most common disease of the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado 120 is the differential lock actuator, or rather, its plastic gears. Every 200 to 250,000 runs it is best to change it entirely, about 30,000 rubles. Another feature of the transmission is the need to inject the crosses of the cardan shafts every 10,000 kilometers, from 500 rubles. Just like on UAZs. The critical milestone for the suspension is 150,000 kilometers. By this run, the chassis will require tangible costs. These are new ball bearings, about 1,000 rubles apiece, and suspension arms, from 4,000 rubles for the lower one, from 9,000 rubles for the upper one. The rear stabilizer serves approximately 200,000, from 3,000 rubles. If you have air suspension at the rear, special attention will need to be paid to the TEMS dampers. Their resource usually ends at 150,000, from 20,000 rubles for the front, from 30,000 rubles for the rear. The front wheel bearings are not eternal either. Every 100,000 you need to check their condition, and after 150,000, most often, replacement is required, from 5,000 per bearing. The brake system of the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado 120 must be cleaned and lubricated annually, otherwise corrosion, acidification of the pistons in the cylinders and guides in the calipers cannot be avoided. Also control the condition of the handbrake cables. They last for 5 to 6 years, after which the cables stretch or turn sour. A new one costs from 1,800 rubles. The frame of an SUV should be inspected at every opportunity in order to notice the first signs of corrosion in time. Of the hinged parts, corrosion, first of all, appears on the hood cover and the edge of the roof. If chips appear on these parts, they must be immediately processed and touched up. On pre-styling cars, produced before 2007, it is often necessary to change the tailgate hinges. It sags due to the spare wheel attached to it. After 2007, the spare wheel began to be mounted under the bottom of the trunk. In this case, washing and lubricating the winch is vital so as not to destroy the mechanism. The owners of the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado 120 periodically let down the rear circuit of the air conditioner, which runs along the starboard side. The tightness of the tubes is broken after 7 to 8 years of use. A radical solution is to cut off the rear contour, but not everyone is ready for this. More often, the tubes are simply changed. There are reinforced ones on sale. If the engine of the saloon stove makes noise, it is not necessary to immediately change it or the entire stove completely. First, it would be nice to lubricate the motor, after which the noise may disappear. Usually the problem occurs at 120 to 150,000, but the ignition lock, which can fail with very active use, is better to replace immediately and in the kit, the body, the larva and the keys, in the dealership, about 15,000 rubles.